Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about rocker studs. Alright, so I bought some Edelbrock E205 cylinder heads over Cyber Monday, Black Friday deals. Got a heck of a good deal on these. I've been saving for them for about 2 years and I finally got them. Alright, so as you can see here, I had disassembled them because I did get a fully assembled set of heads. Right there is all the parts and pieces. You can see I made this. I kind of wish I would have made this a little tighter so these don't flop around so much, but I did what I did, and that's what it is, and it works. All right, so bought the cylinder heads, and I have 7/16 rocker arms. In other words, the rocker arms that I have fit over a 7/16 stud, right? All right. So, Edelbrock, when you buy, I think most all their stuff, I don't know, maybe the Victor heads, maybe, I don't know, I haven't really investigated it, but I think maybe the Victor heads might have a 7/16 by 14 or 12, whatever it is, pitch down here by 7/16 by 20 up here. But these heads, and I did notice that the Performer heads had the same. I also noticed that these are the 205 heads. There's another, I think it's a 170, I think. And they also have 3/8 studs. So basically these studs are the ones that were in there, and they have the 7/16 stud that screws into the head itself and the 3/8 up on top. Well, that's not going to work because my rocker arms are 7/16, and quite honestly, I am a fan of bigger is better, especially when it comes to fasteners and studs like that. This really isn't going to add a lot of weight to your, your heads by going to a 7/16 stud. You're going to gain some strength because it's thicker, more surface area. And so, honestly, I don't own a set of 3/8 rocker arms because I never buy them. And if I do buy them, I sell them. In other words, they were a heck of a good deal because somebody was offloading them or whatever, and I knew I could make money on them, so I bought them, and then I end up selling them on eBay. So, speaking of eBay, these will be on eBay at some point. These are the Edelbrock 7/16 down here to 3/8 rocker arm stud that came on those heads. They look good. They look like they're good quality. But again, I don't have that size, so I needed a replacement. Well, enter Elgin. I am a huge fan of ARP, and I can show you that because you can see here I have a whole bunch of ARP stuff, right? So I like ARP. Supposedly all that stuff is made in the United States, okay? And so I buy ARP whenever possible, or I usually always do. I did not this time, of course. Why is that the case? Well, I have a Facebook. I have Elgin on my Facebook, timeline. I follow their company. They seem to be kind of a cool place. And, yeah, I found out after I got it. Yep, they're made in Taiwan. So, whatever, I guess. But here's some other things, too. I was saying to myself that, I can buy the ARPs, which I think I was finding some for around, I can't remember, I want to say it was around 75, 80 bucks is what I was going to be spending for 7/16 and 7/16 upper rocker studs ARP, right? And that's fine. I was going to spend that money, really I was. But then, again, I've been following Elgin for a while, and they, somebody just kind of mentioned that, hey, you ought to go check it out. But, again, if you go to Summit, if you go to Speedway, if you go to any, eBay even, you're going to find all kinds of knockoff rocker studs that are probably, made in China or whatever the hell. I think the cheapest set I saw was $19, I think, on eBay somewhere. And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna spend that little. Plus, those are definitely Chinese, and those are definitely probably the cheapest Chinesium metal possible, okay? But again, I've always been impressed with Elgin. Again, when I see their stuff on my timeline on Facebook, they just look like they're trying to be, better as far as like as an American manufacturer. They do manufacture stuff in the United States, just apparently not these things. Okay, so when I ordered these online, it was eBay, and I don't remember the seller, but they were supposedly an Elgin, certified or whatever you want to call supplier. And the other thing here's the other thing too, by the way. So I measured all this stuff here, right there, and I'm trying to find, I'm going to get the tape measure here, I'm trying to find something that will be basically a direct replacement, okay? So, for example, this is kind of how they do it. They measure from the bottom here of where it hits the actual guide plate, or the head, and you measure down to the bottom of the bolt, which you can see here is 3/4 of an inch. And then most of the time they measure from the top of the stud to the bottom here, to the bottom, which in this case is, let's see here if I can hold this steady, looks like inch and 7/8. So from the bottom of this to the top of that is 1 7/8. And also they measure the thread length. So this one here happens to be 1 inch. So that was actually the kicker to the ARP being disqualified, because I went looking for ARP and I found a whole bunch of them actually. Big block Chevy, small Chevy, Ford, you name it, all of them. And, I don't know why they say, oh, this one fit the Ford, this one fit the Chevy. I mean, it's the same damn threads most of the time. But again, what I found was, I found that I could find something that had the 3/4 on the bottom. I could find, from the bottom of this to the top of the stud, most of the time was longer by about 1/4 of an inch or so. It was the closest I could get, actually, for ARP. And the thread length was only, I think it was 0.8. So basically just 7/8, maybe just a little over 3/4 of an inch of thread. This is 1 inch of thread. Well, when I went looking and somebody mentioned Elgin and I started looking around, I found this part number, RDS-940-16. And take a look at this. So, there you go. Look at that. It's pretty much a knockoff on length. I mean, you've got maybe just like 1/8 of an inch taller over here. You can obviously see that the nut portion that you're going to tie onto is much thicker. Also, you can clearly see that has a little bit of a rounded, tapered base. This one has a very definitive tapered base. So this is really thick right there. By the way, I did not see these in a picture. Okay, the picture that they had was a generic picture, so I did not know any of this stuff. But what I did know is that they did measure. They told me that this and this were the same. They told me that this to here was pretty much the same. I think the measurement was the same, but as you can see clearly here, it's just 1/8 inch taller. And it told me that the threaded length was 1 inch. So, what's the price? They were $40. $40 with free shipping to my door. And as you can see, clearly these are thicker, because these are the 7/16 versions, where these are the 3/8 versions. So, if you are buying Edelbrock heads that will very likely typically come with these studs right here, the 7/16 bottom and the 3/8 fine thread upper for 3/8 rocker arms, and you have a set of 7/16, or you want to run 7/16, I can clearly, plainly as day tell you that the direct, as far as I'm concerned, part number that you need is the Elgin RDS-940-16. You buy that right there, and you will be able to thread these into your Edelbrock head, and it will be the exact same replacement as the one that you take out, except the 3/8 upper, which is skinnier. And again, you can clearly see that these are girthier. I mean, not just this up here, obviously, but you can see right there where it meets the head, and the head itself is much thicker. So, I mean, you know, it has a little bit of a stamping on the bottom there. I think that's, yeah, M? Yeah, that's what it says, M. I don't know what that means. Nothing on the top. But anyway, just so that you kind of get an idea of what to buy. Like if you have Edelbrock heads, again, I remember the E series had the 7/16 by 3/8. I'm pretty sure the Performer did. I think maybe it won't be until you get to the Victor, but again, I don't know this. I'm just making assumptions here. You would think that the Victor's supposed to be the Shiznit, that they're probably going to have the 7/16 studs. I don't know that for a fact. But you can see here the Edelbrock ones. I mean, they look good, but they don't have any markings on them at all. These are going to be on eBay, by the way, soon. So if you need some, look there, because my eBay, by the way, is the same as my YouTube and Rumble moniker, OB1N. So go check it out if you want to buy them. But these were $40, and the closest that I could find for ARP, like I said, this was the same. This was, 7/16 obviously, and the thread was a 1/4 inch higher, if I remember correctly, and the threaded length was actually a little bit shorter. So what that did, just because it was a 1/4 inch higher, and because it was almost a 1/4 inch shorter in thread length, that would actually move everything upwards approximately, almost a 1/2 inch, actually. Well, definitely a 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. So I was concerned about the fact that maybe that would affect the geometry. I mean, obviously you want to be as close as possible to the factory, however they thought that it should work. And that's what I'm trying to do. So, once again, the Elgin RDS-940-16 is exact, as far as I'm concerned, replacement to the 3/8 stud if you want to go to 7/16 stud. And again, you can clearly see they're very girthy and they look good. So we're going to find out if they're, worth the shit or not. But obviously, when you buy ARP stuff, they're high quality. They are made in America. They have that glossy finish to them. I don't know if I got anything. Well, let's see here. Yeah, there we go. Well, no, these aren't even ARPs. I already put them in. I had some ARPs somewhere that were out of the package or whatever. But anyway, when you take them out of there, they're kind of shiny in color. They look really cool. They're like polished, right? And it's pretty obvious that these aren't polished, and neither are these. Okay, but I mean, when it's underneath the valve cover, who cares, right? You just want them to work. So these babies here are what you want when you're trying to swap your Edelbrock series heads that are going to be using the 3/8 studs to a 7/16 stud. And again, if you're looking to do it cheap, or, well, not cheap, but cheaper than ARP style studs, well, then this is it. And again, I get it. The box says made in Taiwan. At the same time, I think that might be changing now with this tariff thing going on. I'm pretty sure they're going to bring manufacturing back here to the States, as far as, because this company has been bragging about how it's been making, a few things here in the U.S. whenever possible. Again, I follow them on Facebook, and they seem to have some really nice stuff. Although, unfortunately, they build a lot of stuff for LS, which I don't do LS stuff. I wish they would, do more stuff for what I, run with. But they've been doing the Godzilla stuff here lately. I've noticed in their posts and whatnot. And then obviously you have to run with stuff that's actually, being driven today. But, I think that the old school stuff is going to be around for another 20, 30 years before it really starts to fade out. And besides that, they're building brand new blocks, what the heck, Blueprint engines. They're building brand new 302 4-bolt main blocks. I heard that World Products is actually coming out again, finally, with a new updated small block Ford block, because there for a very short while here it was just Ford Motorsport making the Boss block, I believe Dart, and that was pretty much it. But now World is back in the game apparently, building 2 or 3 different selections. And again, Blueprint Motors, obviously, if you know the crate engine scene, they're huge in that scene, or definitely, in fact, they're right here in Nebraska, where I live, not about 2.5 hours from me, and I've toured that plant. It's pretty cool. Yes, it is some Chinese stuff that's, assembled here, but it is what it is. I mean, you have to do what you have to do, right, to survive. Hopefully that will change now, again, with the tariffs and shit like that, but we'll see. And but nonetheless, they are building new 302 blocks and shit like that. So there's going to be, a used market of that stuff here for, it'll hang on for probably, like I said, a good 30, maybe even 40 years at this point. So anyway, if you're buying small block Ford Edelbrock heads and you've got to make a direct swap, here it is right there. So like, subscribe, rumble, more importantly, and we'll be talking to you soon.